Obviously, you don't have to come from a religious background to try to understand what I'm going to tell you here, but all I ask is that you just come with an open mind. Don't just hear the words that I'm trying to tell you, but actually listen to what I'm trying to convey to you. And it may take some ignoring your own mind, from disqualifying what I'm saying. I mean, if you don't believe it, that's okay. You don't have to believe it. You can leave the video if you want. But this applies to everybody. Literally every human in the world this applies to. So whenever you see the Bible, don't just think, oh, you have to be from a religious background. The Bible is a spiritual book, if you think about it. And we are spiritual beings. Think about this for a second. If you look at anything in any room that you're in right now, you know the purpose of that. This microphone is to record my voice so that you can hear me better. Because it's going to be a well-defined, well-rounded voice, right? The ceiling fan. Whenever it's hot and you want to cool down, you turn the ceiling fan on. My sweater's to keep me warm. My book is to write on. This pencil is used to write down the thoughts that are in my mind on the paper. I couldn't write if there weren't paper to write on. I couldn't hold my thoughts in this book if this book didn't hold all these pages together. You know what I mean? This chair was made to be sat on, and this chair contains screws. And you understand the purpose of each of these screws in this chair, the purpose of each of these screws in the microphone, in my laptop, in my cell phone, anything in this physical world that you can see. You immediately and automatically understand what purpose that thing serves. Now look at the person next to you. Look at the next person that comes your way. What is their purpose? Do you understand what their purpose is? If you look in the mirror, do you understand what your purpose is? I'm still finding what my true purpose is in life, right? I'd like to think that my true purpose is sharing what I'm sharing to you. I'd like to think that I'm working and progressing towards understanding my true purpose in this life. But it's not the same as it is with everything else that we see. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Okay, now with this background knowledge, let's just get into it. We've all heard of the Bible as the Word of God, right? Whenever Paul had written the Bible, maybe this was a fact. But if we look at it for what it is physically, it's a book. What do humans do with books? From 2,000 years, there has been version after version after version of the Bible. So how do we know which one to actually follow? You know what I mean? Maybe it's just been translated to have easier understanding, but that's the exact thing that I'm trying to convey to you. Maybe we're not meant to understand the Bible as it is literally because it's not a literal book. It's meant to be a spiritual book, right? If we think of everything physically, we're looking for that purpose that it serves. We're giving it the purpose that it would serve in our physical world. But what if it's more than that? If we're spiritual creatures and this book is intended to show us how to find our purpose in life, wouldn't this be sort of a spiritual guide that we're able to use? That's why I want to bring the idea that the Bible is an allegory. And you may be wondering why I'm saying this. In the Bible, literally in the Bible, Galatians chapter 4, verse 21. Check it out right here. We go through this story about Abraham and Isaac and his wives. But if you go to the last verse, Galatians 4:24, which things are an allegory? Now, if you don't know what an allegory is, don't worry. It's here. An allegory is a story that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning. If you complete the verse, for these are the two covenants, the one from Mount Sinai, from Generath to bondage, which is agar. Agar is something that coagulates, it kind of holds something together, right? It pulls it all together and makes it stick. If you look at this from an allegorical perspective, right? What's the hidden meaning here? Mount Sinai is where Moses went up. Hear me out on this. There are 5 stages of consciousness. You can also see these elements or stages in other teachings as well, but for the majority of the time, they all seem to agree. And I'm not talking about Avatar. The stages or the elements are earth, water, air, fire, and the last one has many names, but it's usually something like space, void, spirit, something like that, right? So think about it. In the story of Moses, what did he do? He led the Israelites or the slaves out of Egypt. He crossed the desert, right? Earth. He crossed the desert. They came to the Red Sea. The color red signifies your emotions. But they came to the Red Sea and he split the sea. Moses is telling us how to conquer our emotions and to cross that next stage of consciousness. After we go into the water, he climbed up Mount Sinai, right? To go up. And once he got up there, what did he see? a burning bush. And what started happening with the burning bush? God, or the Spirit, started speaking to him. If we take the story of Moses and we don't think of it literally, right? I mean, just think about it. If someone could slam a stick into the ground and then the water open up, why isn't this happening more often? You know what I mean? And I'm not disqualifying the Bible by any means. I'm just saying, think of it for the actual meaning that it may hold. Because like I said, we're not physical creatures. We are spiritual beings stuck in this meat sack, y'all. For real, for real. The whole point of Moses's journey, right, was to lead the Israelites, the slaves, us, out of this and to the promised land. And this is how we get to the promised land. Right here. And if that isn't enough for you, I've got more. Don't worry. Hold on. Just to give this some validation as well, I'm going to pull up Matthew 6:9-13. Check it out. Our Father which art in heaven, right? Hallowed be thy name. You've probably heard or even said this prayer many times in your life. Probably one of the most renowned prayers, especially in this age, because churches still say this prayer, right? You may be very familiar with this prayer. Remember, this is in the Bible, y'all. The reason that I bring up this prayer, not only in the same book as Matthew, but also 9 verses down, this is what we see. Matthew 6:22. Listen to me. This is Jesus talking, and he says, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall fill with light. Does that sound crazy? This is in the Bible. This is in the Bible. I'm not going to jump to conclusions just yet, but you've probably heard about the third eye, right? The single eye, right? This is kind of crazy that the Bible, a book that was written over 2,000 years ago, is talking about this. That's kind of crazy, right? Don't disprove it yet. There's a part of the brain. It's called the pineal gland, if you haven't heard of it. I'll put it right here. It's this small pine cone shaped gland that we have in our brains. There's something about pine cones as well. If you've ever been in a pine forest, right, and you see all the pine cones on the ground, these pine cones, whenever it comes season, whenever the sun hits them, they literally burst open and then throw seeds all over the place, right? Your pineal gland is not shaped like a pine cone coincidentally, right? Whenever you go from the earth to the water, to the air, and the fire, right? The same fire that releases all these seeds from the pine cone, whenever the fire or the light touches your pineal gland, it releases, literally, it releases, you can look it up, I'll put it here. It releases melatonin. Okay? You may think, oh, melatonin, I'm going to go to sleep. No, melatonin is a skin lightener. A skin lightener. And literally, it releases this throughout your brain. Once it's stimulated. How do you stimulate it? Follow Moses. Go to the promised land, right? Go up that mountain. And this is scientifically accurate from 2,000 years ago. Have we heard of them using melatonin? And not only that, the Greek physician Galen, this guy knew what the pineal gland was. All right, anyways, let's move on. If we shoot over to Genesis 32:30, and Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Peniel, for he has seen God face to face. Think about this, allegorically speaking, right? Think about this. The last one I want to show to you for now, 1 John chapter 1, verse 5. This then is the message which we have heard of him, and declare unto you that God is light. Lights, right? Again, guys, hey, think of it allegorically. What is the meaning in this? If we think about it, Jacob saw God, light, face to face, and he named this place Peniel. Why did he name the place Peniel? If he saw God, which is light, face to face, and Jesus said, if your eye be whole, if your eye be single, your body will fill with light. If God is light, and you make your eye single by stimulating the pineal gland to release that light, the melatonin, right? This is what Jacob did, and this is why, perhaps, he's naming the city Peniel. It's in the Bible, y'all. This is in the Bible. It's not just hocus pocus. You know, I'm not just speaking some gibberish that I'm making up. This is in the Bible. And it blows my mind.